Hi guys, so it's been a while since I've done updates on all our tanks, so I think it's a time to go through all of our tanks and just to show you what do we have here at the moment. So I'll start with our display tank, and this is a 460 liter or approximately 120 US gallon system. It's an All Pond Solutions tank. If you are in the UK, you've probably heard about them, and we have a separate video of unboxing and assembling this tank together. And so this is a tank with a sump, and I'll show you sump in a moment. I have a separate video about sump, but it's been more than half a year since I showed you my sump, and there are quite a few things happened there ever since. So let's open the cabinet, and I'm going to turn on the lights in here. I usually don't keep the lights on here permanently. I just switch them on when I have to do something in here because it's quite dark. So if you've seen the previous video, we used to have a refugium in this section here. So there were some Anubias plants. They did grow very well and it did look really nice. So they were removing some nitrates, and there was a green corner in this part of the sump, but there were so many problems with algae, and at some point algae was just uncontrollable here, so it would grow inside of all these return pumps, and there was just too much work to clean up the algae, because this sump is on the ground level, and it's not really easy to pump water out of it. It's not really easy to clean it. So I've decided to shut down the refugium, and now this sump only functions as a sump. So this is an area with inflow pipe, so the water enters this part of the sump. I have here some sponges, some medium sponge and coarse sponge. In this section of the sump I do have some lava rock and Ichheim mech, but most of the media down here is alpha grok, because alpha grok is quite good at absorbing all sort of dirt, so it doesn't clog as fast as, for example, lava rock, and it's easier to wash it. I just have this bag of lava rock in case if I start some new tank I will use this cycled media. It's quite convenient. In the middle section of the sump I only have lava rock, different grade lava rock, smaller grade, larger grade. It's all in bags, so it's easier to clean it. I also have here auto top-up system that is connected to this auto top-up reservoir, and there is a small pump that will pump the water into the sump if the sump water level is down, is below this level here basically. And in the last part of the sump I have a return pump. It's a Ichheim compact on 3000 return pump. You won't be able to see it because it's all covered with media. And over here I have lots of different media. It's Ichheim substrate, it's Sikkim matrix, and I think also Fluval Biomax and a few other things. So this is more fine-grained media as compared to lava rock and alpha grok. Also I have here Sikkim pH alert and Sikkim ammonia alert, as well as my thermometer and a heater. I also installed here an air stone just to keep water moving, because before there would always be a film on the top of the water because water doesn't really move, and with an air stone added is kind of cleaner and more movement inside the sump. So right, so that's all about the sump. And now let's have a look at the population of this tank, fish population of this tank. So we have here these three large Altum angels. They are actually, well, they're pretty large, but they're not too old. One of them is about 1.5 years old, and other two are about 1 year old. These are F1 tank bred Orinoco Altum angels. We also have here 5 juvenile Orinoco F1 Orinoco Altum angels, and sadly they're stunted So I already bought them stunted, and I've done lots of things to make them grow. I dewormed them with different medications a few times. I've raised the temperature. I've tried different types of food. Nothing has helped. So I've had them for about 3 months, and they haven't grown up at all during these 3 months. So that's what they are. They're healthy. They eat. They don't eat as much as they have to at this size and at this age, but nevertheless they are quite active fish. So I just keep them in here, hoping that someday they will start growing, although I do know that most likely they're going to stay the same size. In terms of the 3 larger items that we have here, I'm not sure about the sex. I guess they're the same sex because they're generally quite mild. They don't really fight each other. They kind of get along very well. So I assume they might be 3 females, but you never know. Right, we also have here this Hoplo catfish female, a solo Hongsloya pisto female, and she's been with us for a really long time. She's kind of a veteran fish. We have here a group of about 16 black neon tetras, one Super S Bristol nose pleco, and one L27 Panacar Brewstery pleco. So we used to have more plecos in here, but we had to somewhat cut down on the population of plecos because they were producing lots of waste, and they were also growing large, and there was lots of competition for hiding spots. And so yeah, I've decided to leave just one L27 pleco in here. And the funny fact is that when there were so many Panac plecos in here, they were always out and about. They would compete for food, they would compete for hiding places, so they would be always in front of the tank and very active. But when I left only one of them, it just went into hiding permanently, and I would probably never see it most of the time. So it does come out after the lights are off, and yeah, it's not as active as it used to be when there was a whole group of them. We have here some fine river sand on the bottom, a mixture of all sorts of driftwood. There's like probably 5 different types of driftwood. Some Java moss growing on the driftwood. It doesn't really grow fast. And pothos plants, which grow with their roots in water. So we have here 2 lamps. One is facing down, the other facing up, for the pothos plants to grow. And yeah, so they're doing quite well. There's lots of fresh growth, fresh roots growing in that corner. Not so much in this corner though. So originally this was an open top tank. It didn't have a lid. It's a marine system. It was designed for marine fish and marine animals. It didn't have a lid, but I use this plastic sheet, this transparent plastic sheet as a lid, because there was just too much evaporation, and I need to keep the temperature relatively high for Alto Angels, and it was really challenging to keep this tank warm without a lid. So with a lid, things work much better. So in terms of population, that's it for now. I'm planning to possibly get some wild discus if I can get some good quality wild discus, and that's pretty much in terms of the plans with regard to population. So this is our Altum Angelfish breeding tank. It has a pair of Orinoco Altum Angels. Previously they used to be in the display tank, but after they started all sorts of breeding activities, we moved them to this tank, and they've already spawned once a laid eggs in this tank last week, and then they seem to be getting ready to spawn again. This larger one is female and smaller one is male, so actually male is younger than she is. Yeah, so this is a temporary setup. They are not going to stay here permanently. They're just going to stay here until they spawn a few more times, and then I will move them back to the display tanks. They will gain up some weight, they will recuperate after spawning and after breeding, and then I will bring them back in here. So it's a very basic setup. It just has some driftwood with Java moss on it, and some Amazon frog bits on top. There is a canister, external canister filter here, Eheim 250, filled up with biological media, only because I have here a sponge, a pre-filter sponge on intake pipe. There's also an air stone. This is actually a cheap USB pump, so a cheap USB pump. I didn't expect it to be so powerful, but it's actually pretty powerful. And I have here a 300 watt heater to keep the temperature at 30 degrees Celsius constant. And yeah, it has a light. I don't use lights very often, just from time to time, because once they start spawning and once they have eggs, they don't really like bright light, so the light is just there for turning it on occasionally. Yeah, so this is probably all about this breeding setup. So this is our Rio Shingu biotope tank for L46 zebra plecos. This is a 60-liter tank, and it has quite a lot going on. So it has a wave maker, a 2000 liter per hour wave maker. It has an air stone. It has hang on the back filter. What else does it have? Yeah, so it has a heater to keep the temperature high. I also keep temperature here at 30 degrees Celsius because that's what zebra plecos like. They like strong current and high temperature. In terms of decorations, there is a yellow sand on the bottom, some lava rocks. I don't know what kind of a rock this one, and these are slate rocks. So all the zebras are living in the crevices on these slate rocks, and normally they're actually quite active, and they're always out and about around these slate rock structures. Yeah, so this tank is doing quite well. There's no other fish in here, and I don't really plan to add anything else in here. I would certainly like to have some biotope correct tetras, such as Mayankausia haikoi, which also lives in the same habitat with zebra plecos in Rio Shingu, but I cannot source them at the moment. I was thinking to add here black neon tetras because they look very much like Mayankausia haikoi. They have similar colors and similar behavior, but I don't think they're going to appreciate this high flow and high temperatures, because essentially the level of water movement here is really high. It may not be visible when you look at it that way, but because of all this wave maker and hang on the back filter and really strong air stone, everything is kind of moving around. Right, so the plecos are still pretty young, and they are growing, but they're very slow growers, which is normally the case with L46 plecos. So they will be here for the time being, and once they gain some size, I'll probably be moving them to a larger setup. Also a biotope setup, but a larger tank. But for now they're doing great here. I do prefer to keep them in a smaller tank because it's easier to do water changes in this tank. It's easier to heat it up, and it's easier to create all this water current and water flow that I have here. So that's basically it, and no plans for other tanks for now, and probably no plans for other fish, but we never know. So I hope you liked it. leave your comments in the comment section, and I will see you in future videos soon.